Okay, so now we're on task 5. So it's the spreadsheet question. So let's download the file we're going to use. Save it in the folder that we're saving things in. And it's something about parent feedback. So give it a meaningful name. Always give it meaningful names. It's very important. There's bound to be marks for that. And let's open it. So while it's opening, I'll just have a glance through. So you're comparing some data. It's unusual. So I would open as read only if that came up, and then just save as again. I assume that's the person from City and Guilds or something like that. So I'll enable saving. And just give a different file name. Parent feedback 2, perhaps. Remove the content. Righto, so looking at this, it looks awful, and they always will to begin with, these spreadsheets. So before even looking at the questions, make it look good, like really good. Show some tricks. So if you want to change fonts, you can make things bold, you can change the size. Personally, I like to use styles whether I'm in Word or Excel, so I'll call that title. Here we have a table, so I could make the column headings bold. And that would be one way of formatting it nicely, but there's a built-in tool called Format as Table, which is ACE, and I totally recommend you use it. Just check whether or not your table has headers. In this case, yes it does. It's that top row, which I would call column headings, but they call it headers. And I'll just go with the default there. So that's my formatting sorted. You'll notice that also that enabled these drop-down menus, which can be very useful to sort. Or to filter, so you could do less than 0.5 or something like that. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing on the second table. So we could title that and format as table again. I love a bit of format as table. Just let me show you what it looks like if you do it wrong. You get this column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 business, which is terrible. And another point is, if you sort these, then what's supposed to be your column headings can go to the wrong place. So I'm going to undo a few times. I'm never afraid of screwing something up and then using undo to sort it out again. And I suggest you the same, because the only way you learn is by playing around, really. So if you do format as table, make sure you don't get that column 1, 2, 3, 4 thing. Make sure that's correctly ticked, so you end up with the column headings as your table columns. You'll have noticed that the ends of these survey questions are cut off, and that's shoddy. So if you don't sort that out and you hand in this spreadsheet, you'll obviously lose marks for it. So to sort that out, pop it between A and B and just drag this left or right. And you can get it to the right width. If you want to be a pro about it, you double click and it does it automatically. And that's looking good, going all the way down. Yeah. Oh look, this is slightly more important than average, so I'm going to make it look a little bit more important. I could bump it up a bit or bold it or something. Again, I like to use cell styles, so I'm going to go for that. Right, I'm fairly happy. So what we've been doing is formatting, changing how it looks. I haven't typed in anything on the keyboard, I haven't changed the content by editing it. I've just changed the formatting, how it's displayed. So that's fonts and stuff, that's making sure columns are wide enough, that's making sure column headings stand out. Just looking through, just double click these to make sure they're wide enough. But also formatting is how a number's displayed. So looking at these numbers, if you haven't done it when you've been having a go at this spreadsheet, have a think about what these numbers are and how they should be represented. Hopefully the conclusion you'll draw is that they should be percentages, because there's the proportion of different answers for this survey. So if you want to change how numbers are displayed, look in this number section of the home tab, and there's a drop down with loads of different options, or you can just click on this percent here. It does the same thing. Scroll down a bit. These are all percentages too, so I'll highlight them and do that. And I've changed those because I've decided that that is the most appropriate way of displaying this data. Okay, so you've got to rely on yourself to make those decisions about how to display numbers. You can tweak how many decimal places with these buttons. If it's money, always click that to do money, or choose currency out of the drop down, doesn't matter. So always think about how these numbers are displayed. There will be marks for it, and so get them because they're easy. Right, so I'm pretty happy at this stage. I'll probably just do a quick spell check because they could easily give you incorrect spellings in the spreadsheet and expect you to find them and fix them. So again, they're easy marks, but a lot of people don't get them because they're obsessed with doing great formulas and stuff, and they forget to get the easy ones. And you can do the best formulas in the world and still screw up this test by not getting the easy marks. Okay, so popping back to the actual tasks. So the school set a target of a 5% increase in strongly agree responses. So I have to think about the data a bit now. So there's the survey feedback from 2008-9. Up here it's from the year after. So they want these ones to be 5% more than these ones. The target for this top row is going to be 91 plus 5, 96%. So personally, I'd do a separate column for target. And you could just do 6 more than that. So do it with a formula whenever you can. So if you want to do a formula, you press equals. So I'm just going to click on that and then say plus 6. And most people press enter at this stage and get some wacky answers. Hopefully then you'd realise, no, that's not right. 6%. And I just realised, did they say 5%? Yeah, they did. Oh dear. Bad memory, Dave. Change that to a 5. Better. For some reason it's giving this different number of decimal places, so I'll click on home, go to the number section, and just find the right button, tweak that. So there we go. Now we've got targets. One other point, really, rather than type that in, because next year we might decide to change that target to 6% or something, it's probably better to click on the actual cell where it lives. So this one, B22. But actually, if you look at this, it doesn't really work because it doesn't stay on B22. So if I click up here, you'll see that it's pointing at nothing basically. So that's why the target ends up as being 91, even though last year's was 91. So just a really advanced tip. If you want to refer to a cell, but you want to keep it on that cell forever, rather than move down a row every time where its answer is going moves down a row, what you need to do is just press F4 and it just changes how it's referred to. What it does is put $1 in front of the column and $1 in front of the row. That just means don't ever move from there. So if I hit enter now, then what we'll have, hopefully, is that remaining on B22 as we go down. Which is exactly what we want. That's called absolute cell referencing, when you press F4 to do the dollars and pin the reference to the same cell. It can be very useful. It's pretty advanced and you can do this test without using it, but it's a good tip to know. It's a good tool to have in your arsenal. Okay, so we've got a target which they didn't ask for, but I decided that I was going to calculate the target separately to solve this problem. So do a formula to display the words target met if this target's been achieved, or improvement required if it's not. So pop back. You always want to give it give each column some kind of name. So there's one. So if you're displaying one thing or another based on a condition, you've got to use a function, specifically the if function. So if I want to do a function, I might press equals and choose one out of this list. I like to just press FX for insert function. If checks whether the condition is met and returns one value of true and another value of false. So that's exactly what we want. If you're ever unsure about a function, use the help. It's great. It gives examples of how it's used. I'll just quickly go to that help section and just talk you through those examples. So basically, you've already got the if up with the commas. The brackets by choosing it. So that takes care of the equals if and the brackets. And let me just explain. So this is what goes in the first box, and then all the comma means is jump to the next box. So this inverted commas around over budget is what goes in the second box in their example, and then the comma again to say jump box, and then this is what they put in the third box. So they're saying you can put something like this in the first box, and then you can put something like this in the second box, and then you can put something like this in the third box. I often refer to those examples if I'm using a new function, which I do quite often. I've used if a million times, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be teaching it, but you're always learning new functions, and obviously you Google stuff and you use the help. In your test you can't Google it, but you can use the help, so you definitely want to be doing that if you have any difficulties or if you're not sure. So basically in this first box you often use symbols like this, that's greater than, flip it and it'll be less than. So what we're saying is basically look at that, if that is more than that, then say target met, if not say improvement required. So the target met and improvement required bit's really easy. Just type stuff in. This bit's the harder bit. So basically you want to tell Excel for this specific row, I'm looking here and I'm seeing whether it's greater than that one there. And you see how it's easy if I've done a separate column for target. If you hadn't done a separate column for target, instead of typing G3 in there, you'd have to type B3 plus 5% or B3 plus $B $22, I think. And you probably put that whatever went after the greater than symbol in brackets just to make sure it calculated that separately. But I've already calculated that, so I'm just referring to G3. Now, just let me check the question, because usually they say something or more. So target met if it's been achieved. So if I just pop back, this will only do it if it's gone over the target. If you want to say greater than or equal to, you do it like that. So if you want to do less than or equal to, then it looks like this. It's in that specific order. Okay, so the kind of inequality sign, then the equals if you want to do greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. And then you check this, it says it's going to be false, i.e. it didn't hit the target. And it didn't, so you definitely know this one's going to work. And it says I'm going to say improvement required, which is what we want. And when we click OK, we hope that it's going to work for the other ones too. And so you glance down and check that they have. And it will look spot on to me, apart from that. So I'll stretch that column. I'm not going to drag it. I'm going to double click it because it's slicker and quicker. So just one point. If you haven't done format as table for whatever reason, it would just do the first one and then use this little notch in the bottom right to duplicate that formula down to the rest. But when you do format as table, it just automatically does them with every row, which is another helpful side effect of using format as table. Another reason I'm a big fan of it. So I'm pretty happy. I'm going to pop back to see whether there's any more tasks. Looks like there are, yeah. So make sure the data is clear, formatted correctly. We did that at the start. Widening columns, percentages and numbers, making column headings stand out, using format as table. That's what this stuff all means. And fit on one page A4 if printed. The easiest way to do that is just pretend to print, so go File, Print, or Control and P. and it says page 1 or 2 there. Often with Excel you want to go landscape, but still page 1 or 2, and you can tweak margins if you want. Go narrow, and I think that might do it. No, it doesn't. And if you try everything and you still can't fit it on one page, try changing the scaling. Fit sheet on one page, or try out the different things. See how you get on. Obviously, sometimes that would shrink it so you can't read it, but that'll be fine. So I'm happy, and now I'm just going to click home to get out of the print preview. What you'll find is, if you've done a print preview, usually it puts the lines in. It hasn't done it on this occasion. Go to page layout one. Down here you can switch views. You can see that's just going to fit on. Obviously that fit all the sheet on a page is good. Another way of making things fit, I'm just going to go back to the normal view because I hate that view, is you can just put things on 2 lines, which we call wrap the text. So if I highlight that row, I click on wrap text, and then that enables me to squish this one, and then it's just a bit of slightly more efficient use of space. And then I don't like how it looks, so I'm again highlighting that row and going to put them in the middle rather than the top or the bottom, and that's a slight improvement. So I don't need to use fit table to one page if I do something like wrap text there. Right, so just moving on to the next bit. Create a chart on a new worksheet that compares the strongly agreed data for both years. Okay, charts can be easy or hard. This is quite a hard chart. A lot of people struggle with this because you basically want this and you also want this. And to select 2 distinct areas, you hold down Control. I'm holding down Control before selecting that second range. And also you want this down here as well. Now, Excel's not clever enough to work out how to do a chart highlighting those 3 areas, I don't think. I click on column, it's not having it basically. If you click on insert chart and it doesn't look alright to begin with, press delete, give up on that attempt. It's always about the selection. Now, because this is dotted around, Excel doesn't really get it. So what I would do is copy that, do a new sheet, Control V to paste. Because if I can't get a chart to work pretty much straight away, then I kind of give up for the time being, and I like to make a little separate table. So the point is with the separate table, don't repeat yourself at all. So don't put the survey questions in again, because then you'll still have kind of 2 tables. What you want to do is put it as concisely as possible into one table. So if I copy this one, just try and remember that it's from 2008, 2009, and then paste that in, and that's very concise. There's no repetition. Obviously my labels aren't very good anymore, but I can sort those pretty easily. Just double click, get in there, 2008, 2009, and in here I can do 2009, 2010 hopefully. No, my memory might have served me badly then. That's okay. Although it doesn't really make sense in that order, does it? So I'll just Control and X to cut that, paste it in there with Control V, click on there, right click, get rid of that, and now it's in a more sensible order. Let's widen that a bit. Now these haven't both got that text, so I'll just click that twice so that they're consistent. Not that it really matters, I'm probably being a bit obsessive there, as is my wont. Righto, so it's consistent. We've got the labels for the different columns there. No repetition at all, so it's so easy to just select that, insert chart. Obviously you have to choose which chart to use, but if you've got categories and different levels, then it makes sense to use a column chart. Now it could have been a bit bigger because it can't fit on those questions. Now all the questions fit on, so it's an improvement. Go to chart tools and layout, that's where you can add titles. You definitely want to have a chart title and axis titles. So I tend to do above chart and say parent feedback improvements, just something meaningful. So I'm going to do axis titles, and the vertical one is I don't know, percentage strongly agree. As long as it makes some sense, you're alright, but just make sure you put something just to keep City and Guilds happy, really. Don't think, oh, it speaks for itself. Just whack a title on, and you can't go wrong, really. Survey question. Anything vaguely appropriate is going to be fine for these titles. Okay, that is useful, so I'm going to leave it there. If the chart question means that there's only one colour there, click on it and delete because it doesn't give you any useful info. And that is pretty much spot on as a chart, and I think you get full marks for it. But if you're as picky as I am, you might not like this axis. If you click on it, just try and get it on its own. So sometimes you click and you end up getting stuff you don't want. But if you can just get it on its own and right click, then you can, only if you're like, you know, pretty anal like I am, you right click and you fiddle with the axis. And I would do maximum and change that fixed. 1.2 is equivalent to 120%, 1.0 is 100%. I would do that, just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist in some regards. Not with my clothing, if you've seen me about town. Righto, to me, that's what a perfect chart looks like. Oh no, it doesn't. Oh, I'm glad I did that final check, which I would always recommend you do, just to see that it all fits. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I always like to go back to the question afterwards, just to check I've done everything. So the chart is on a new worksheet, yeah, and it compares strongly to agree data for both years. Happy. Then it says upload your completed spreadsheet. So I would move back to this. I would save it. So file and save as, or F12 if you like shortcut keys. I sometimes do this, and I'm going to do in this case. So the third one's the one I'm going to upload. Now it's moaning because it's an earlier version of Excel, so some of the formatting would disappear, like some of the fancy colours. Now I'm going to click continue and see that it's hope that it's okay. You could go back to save as and change this to the top one, Excel workbook, but you just need to remember to change the file type when you upload it later. So that's your call, really. But I think that looks alright, so I'm happy staying with the old XLS file type that we downloaded it in the first place. Right, so I'm happy. Remember that to upload you always need to close, so we'll close that and then I'd be able to click here and upload in the test. Okay, hopefully that helped. That's task 5 complete.